I always assumed that shouting, a dramatic crescendo of truth unraveling, would be the sign of treachery. Perhaps then I would return home, notice another pair of shoes at the door early, hear voices mingling upstairs, or maybe Raquel would accuse me with a wine glass in hand. As Ara yelled in the background, I pictured Sin packing a suitcase in theatrical silence. That's how it happens in movies, obviously loud and explosive. But in real life, treachery often slips in quietly, like fog, like the silence after being fired, without even realizing it. I'm Sullivan Marsh. I'm 44 years old. I was a Marine. I've seen battle. Before I became the founder of Iron Light Risk Solutions, a man who's operated in places quieter than the ambiance in my own home these days, and somehow that quiet felt more deadly. Raquel and I used to be a team. In our marriage, I was the strategist, but she was always in control, or so I thought. We had Lara 16 years ago, back when everything was about precision, rather than distance. Life still felt purposeful. Raquel did the planning. I did the carrying out. It was the wordless cadence of partnership. She was the future. I was the present. But lately, even that rhythm has faltered. Raquel has become more impatient, colder. Even during dinner, her phone never left her hand. Her laughter disappeared, as if stolen in the middle of the night. Delilah, my daughter, my calm shadow who used to crawl into bed with me during thunderstorms, had turned sharply sarcastic. I assumed it was puberty. She clung to her mother, treating me like someone to be pitied, not trusted. When she rolled her eyes at the mention of school or sighed at my presence, I told myself it was normal. Then Raquel started locking the office door, saying goodnight to callers outside. I didn't pry. Despite having built a career on surveillance, I still believed trust mattered, especially in your own home. One night I was fixing our home network after a storm. The system rebooted, and the interface showed the usual list of devices: laptops, tablets, security panels. But something caught my eye. Ara's iPhone was listed twice. I clicked into the backup logs, assuming it was a redundant sync. Maybe she had a new phone and hadn't removed the old one. But there were file transfers, audio snippets, timestamps. My hand hovered over the mouse. I knew that once I clicked play, I couldn't unhear it. Then came a slight rustle of static, followed by a muffled voice. But clearly, Mom, I don't like this. He's just here. He hasn't done anything. Raquel's voice replied, calm and deliberate. That's the issue. He's always observing, evaluating. We need him out of the picture. We're starting over. Clicking. Another file. Trust me, Raquel said. I listened. Every file, like driving a needle into my ribs. They spoke like I was a ghost, an invader, someone to be removed. Raquel wasn't just done with me. She had recruited our daughter, coached her, used her as a pawn. That was the betrayal. Not her falling out of love, but what she taught our child to believe. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark, played those recordings on repeat, until the silence between them felt louder than the words themselves. My office light cast shadows like prison bars. I considered confronting Raquel then and there, but I needed to understand what this was, who she had become. The next morning, I watched her from the kitchen's edge, casually making coffee, wearing her robe, hair tied with the same pen I bought her in Venice. She smiled. Got that SAT prep thing today, I nodded, tight-lipped. Of course, later never came. Not how I expected. Because something in me shifted. The man who trusted, he disappeared. That afternoon, I opened a file. I logged everything, adjusted server permissions, secured the evidence. Then I just stared. Raquel's head rested on my desk in a photo from Lake Powell. Her smile was genuine, but I felt nothing. They wanted me out, but they didn't know. I'd already begun to leave. Emotionally, strategically. They forgot who I was. My name is Sullivan Marsh, former Marine, founder of a risk intelligence agency that outwitted cartels, corrupted boardrooms, and rogue regimes. And now, I was preparing for my most personal mission yet. They thought betrayal would break me. But for me, it was a beginning. I waited until the house was still. No mug clinks, no footsteps upstairs, just silence. I didn't want anger, I wanted control, like steadying your hand to disarm a live device. This was no different, more surgical, more personal. When I faced Raquel, I didn't yell. I stood in the kitchen doorway. Recordings loaded on my tablet. "We need to talk," I said. She barely looked up from her laptop. "Talk about what?" she asked, calm. "Your little attempt to force me out of my own house?" She closed her laptop, reclined, folded her hands. "You finally snooped?" she added with an arched eyebrow. No flinch, no shame. "You did this to our daughter," I whispered. "She'll be fine," Raquel replied. "What's done is done." "You coached her to lie, to fabricate a claim." Raquel shrugged. No reaction. And that's when I understood. This was a plan. I was already behind schedule. "I'm not leaving, Raquel," I said. "I built this house. I bled for it. For this family." She looked out the window. "You've always been intense, Sully. It's not a stretch to imagine you crossing a line." That sneer she gave me? It used to be reserved for boardroom battles. I already had my answer. The next morning, she left. Took Lara with her. No argument. Just a wave, like neighbors saying goodbye after a dinner party. Then came the restraining order, claims of violent conduct. Emotional instability. Clean. Precise. She'd been planning this. I was gutted, afraid. For my daughter. For the lies becoming her truth. So I called in Jason Singwin, a trusted friend, former soldier, now the city's top private investigator. I told him, I want defense and counter-offense. I want the truth. He didn't blink. We found everything. SMS threads with someone named GB, financial transfers, private accounts, encrypted messages. She never knew those devices were still synced. I brought in Talia Morgan, former federal prosecutor turned family attorney. She didn't wear gloves, but she might as well have. Her power suits were surgical armor. She reviewed the case, quiet and clinical. Then she looked up and said, "They're going to paint you as a monster." "They already are," I said.